If you have homeschool students who are getting ready to enter high school, or maybe they're already in high school and you're feeling stuck as the homeschool parent, how do I map out the high school years? How do I choose how many courses we should do or what courses we should do when? How do I pick curriculum to do those courses? I'm here to tell you that many of us have had these same questions while on our homeschool journeys, and so that's what this video series is all about. Today is part 2 of taking you through my process of how I pick out the courses and curriculum for the upcoming school year. Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. As I mentioned in the intro, this video is part 2 in a series that I'm doing on planning for the upcoming homeschool year, at least for high school. I've had so many questions over the last couple months that have been about planning. How is it that I look ahead to the next school year? Choose how many courses I'm going to do, pick out curriculum, evaluate curriculum. And so I thought, what better way to answer those questions than to take you through the process as I'm doing it. I just happen to be in that point in my homeschool year where I'm actually starting to look ahead to next year, picking out the courses, starting to look at curriculum, and purchasing it a little bit at a time. And so I'm taking you with me kind of along the way as I do these different steps. Now, if you missed part 1, I will link that video down below in the description box and up here for you as well. And I highly encourage you to go check that one out. I started off by showing you how I did our mapping of the high school years. We don't have requirements per se in our state as far as what our students need to take to graduate from our homeschools. But I did utilize a lot of information from our state's education website to kind of match up what we were doing with what colleges would see from a public school student trying for an honors level diploma. And so that gave us a great kind of starting point as far as how many years to do of different subjects, how many years of like foreign language and math and sciences and things like that. So while we don't have to meet those requirements, and we certainly can exceed them and have in many cases, it's a great way to get started. And I also shared a document that I created to help me track what we were taking each year. And if you check out that video and are interested in that free PDF, all you have to do is shoot me an email, which is listed down below in the description box, and I'm happy to send a copy your way. But this session, I am trying to kind of narrow things down, figure out exactly what courses do I want my kids to do for next year, and then maybe starting to do a little bit of curriculum research and curriculum comparisons. Let's start with my son. So he's my youngest. He's a 10th grader this year. He'll be a junior next year. Let me pull up here on the screen for you what it is that I showed in the previous video. So here is that little outline, that little planner of each year, and what he's actually taken so far from 8th grade when we started counting certain courses for high school credit through his current year, his sophomore year. And then on the side, you can see kind of check marks of things that he's already completed. Now, he really doesn't have all that much left that he has to do. Or that we would like him to do. We'd like him to have 2 more years of math, 2 more years of English, 1 more year of science, a government and economics course, and then while he's already met his social studies kind of goals, he's done a cultural geography course his freshman year, which studied, geography and world cultures, and then he's doing world history this year. I strongly feel that American history is really important for the kids to take. My oldest took it previously, and I really want my son to take it, even though we don't necessarily have to have those credits. But we're a young country here in the US, but we have a lot of rich history in a short amount of time. And it's really important for us to understand where we're coming from to help guide us to where we're going. So I really feel like US history is definitely going to be something that's going to be on the schedule, possibly for next year. Now let's look ahead to next year. What would make sense for us to do? So in math, this year he is doing a combination course. So he is doing Algebra 2 with integrated geometry. And I explained this in a previous video, but basically he got a credit and a half for math 1 year. He's getting a credit and a half the second year. And all in all, he'll end up with Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry over the course of 2 years. The natural progression would be to have him go ahead and move on to pre-calculus. we don't know yet what he wants to study in college. He hasn't really been able to settle in on one particular thing, but he's also playing with the idea of joining the military like his uncle, or even looking into some sort of a trade. He just doesn't know yet. And so I don't know if he's going to need anything higher than pre-calculus, but pre-calculus is a good place to kind of get to. So pre-calculus most likely will be the course that we do. Now, English. Now, we combine a couple of things in English. We make sure that vocabulary is included in there, some grammar is included in there, writing is included in there, and then, of course, literature. He has done kind of a general literature course so far, and this year's literature has a lot of kind of British literature worked into it. He's got some Shakespearean plays. We've read works by Tolkien. We've done a lot of poetry, and there's like a whole nother poetry unit that we still have to do yet. But I've been kind of wanting to do something similar to what I did with his sister a few years ago, and that is trying to have an overlap between multiple courses. So the year she studied U.S. history, she did American literature. And I felt like that was nice because, again, they complemented one another. So I'm really leaning towards trying to find or choosing an American Lit program, something that hopefully will incorporate both reading and literature comprehension, but maybe a writing component as well, or looking for a separate writing component that we can work in. So while we'll definitely call it like English 11, as far as topically what it will be about, I'd really like to look at doing something along the lines of American literature and really focusing in on that. And then that kind of ties into the fact that I want him to do American history. And I think that will most likely be one of his last history courses is doing that. So American history for that. And then one more science. The only core science course he hasn't done yet is physics. He did biology already. He's doing chemistry now. And I think physics will be a good one for him to have under his belt. Again, if he's planning to go into any kind of a technical field, there's lots of those that need some sort of a physics background, or at least a general understanding of physics before you get into those college level courses. So I think physics will most likely be his science. So that gives us 4 courses right off the bat. We've got pre-calculus, we've got English 11 with kind of an American literature focus, we've got physics, we've got American history. But we'll talk about other electives here in a moment because I have some thoughts that might work for both my kids. Now, my oldest, right? My oldest, if you look here, she has almost nothing left that is kind of on our goal sheet for her to take. We just want her to have one more year of English. And she's done American literature, she's done British literature, she has studied kind of like world literature. There's really not like a topical literature left that I really feel like she should study. Math, she's gone through pre-calculus, and she's had lots of science classes, biology, chemistry, physics, botany. And I mean, she's just got a lot done. And that gives us a real sense of freedom for her senior year. What is it that would make sense for us to do? Now, with her, we've kind of taken a little different approach. We've done a lot of college tours, and we had one at a school down in Indianapolis, and by far, it was our best college tour. Not because like the campus was the most fabulous or anything like that, but the admissions representative from the department sat down and spent almost an hour with us going through the different requirements of the different degree options she was looking at. And for those who are curious, she's looking at like athletic training or exercise science or performance sports, management, nutrition, something within those fields. And there's a lot of overlap in terms of requirements for there. So he went through like all of the requirements for those different degrees and kind of highlighted the ones that were not degree specific, like writing and composition and college algebra, statistics, speech, so many general humanities courses. And we talked about dual enrollment. What would be courses that would fit for those requirements or transfer well? And he showed us this really awesome resource where we could put in a course title and what school it is from, and they'd actually tell us exactly what it would transfer into that school as. Incredibly helpful, incredibly helpful. So I sat down and then I talked to my daughter for quite a while about what she felt comfortable doing, because we had put off doing dual enrollment because she just didn't feel quite ready for it yet. So we have kind of a two-part game plan here. Let's first start with like English. So for the degree she's looking at, she only has to have one English course, something that's in writing and composition. So no lit analysis or anything like that, but writing and composition. And there is a CLEP exam for composition, and it would transfer into many of the schools that she was looking at. So one option is to go ahead and try to take the CLEP exam this summer. And it's essay writing, and then they're graded, and if you get a certain score, you can get up to, I think it's 3 credit hours of English. And if she passes, great. She doesn't have to take an English class. She's done. But if not, then doing dual enrollment in a writing and composition course. Those are 1 semester courses, which means she'd just have to do it for half the year, and then she'd be done with English, and she could just read for fun after that. Math, it's also kind of a similar story. The degrees that she's going into don't require like calculus. It requires college algebra, trigonometry, and like a 300 level statistics course. There is also a CLEP exam for algebra. And given the fact that she's taken, all the way through pre-calculus, we're pretty confident that if she does the CLEP exam for algebra, she will pass and get that credit. But again, if she doesn't, we could do a dual enrollment college algebra course, which should be pretty easy for her. And if she does pass the CLEP exam, then start with a trigonometry course. Again, 1 semester, so either a semester of algebra, college algebra, followed by a semester of trigonometry, or a semester of trigonometry, and then a semester of statistics, in which case she would have her math all done before she went to college. We've also talked about if she would feel comfortable going ahead and doing another course or like an elective. Whether that means doing like 3 courses at once in the fall, like the English, the math, and the elective, or doing English and math 1 semester and math and an elective the next, that part we're not quite sure about yet. I think a lot's going to depend on how she would do on the CLEP exams, because that could easily knock a couple of requirements out of the way. And then she could look at some humanities courses. Now there's lots of different things that would fall under the humanities that are available for dual credit, and I'm going to let her take the lead and pick those, because that's what she would do if she was taking them in college normally. So most likely that's going to be kind of the bulk of her studies next year, is going to be things through dual enrollment. However, that's not all that we're going to have her do. Now she, like I said, has had lots of sciences, but this past year is when she really honed in and said that she wanted to go into these fields of study, the exercise science or athletic training. And part of that is going to be having a very good understanding of the human body and how it works, and physiology. And while she'd have to take those courses in college, it's taught so quickly in college, and you're expected to learn so much so fast. And when it's a part of what you're going to do as a career, there's that pressure that, oh my gosh, I got to remember all of this, and I have to absorb all of this, and I can't forget it. Because I remember feeling that with nursing, right? I had to take human anatomy and physiology for my nursing degree. So I'm thinking for science next year, we're going to do anatomy physiology. And in fact, I did a video talking about the anatomy physiology course that we've kind of already picked. So spoiler alert there. But I really do want her to study anatomy and physiology. I feel like this way she can learn it at her own pace and get a decent understanding of it. And then that will be just something she can build upon when she gets to college. So that's kind of the main courses for my kids. And I'll pop them up here on the screen again for you so you can kind of see what we're looking at. But I would love to have some homeschool electives. So things that we can do here at home that focus in on topics that are important to us. Now, I don't necessarily want to do a full year elective with each of them, but I was going back through that list I had created of lots of different elective ideas. Like that's what I had done. I had just written down all kinds of things and talked with them. They're not really interested in doing like an art type of elective. They absolutely refuse to do speech. They don't want to do that. But there are a couple of topics that kind of stood out that I feel like we could have both of them do, if not at the same time, but on alternating semesters. So the first one is I really want to have them do a semester studying mental health and mental illness, an understanding of both, because it's such a critical thing to understand. Mental health, because we as a nation, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We have extremely high rates of depression and anxiety, and then a lot of high rates of severe mental illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and major depressive disorder. And it impacts our lives. It impacts the society. It impacts relationships. And so understanding those different illnesses, how they affect the brain, ways that they are treated, ways that they are managed, but also ways that you can manage and take care of your own mental health, I feel is so very important. So very important. So I would very much like to do a 1 semester elective with both of them on that topic. The other semester elective that I am considering is a focused home ec, or more of a home management. Home ec, when you homeschool, right? You learn that all the time. Like my kids learned how to do their own laundry when they were like 9 and I haven't washed their laundry since. They have both had bank accounts and had to manage those. They know how to, do basic cleaning around the house and things. But think about the things that you wish you would have learned in high school. What is a mortgage and how does that work? What's an IRA? What's a 401k? What's the difference, right? How do you do your taxes? How is it you're supposed to fill out your tax forms? What are these different expenses that come with owning a home or renting an apartment? And more of that, kind of like maybe not so much home ec as far as more of like life skills as an elective. And I don't know if there's anything great out there. I think when we start doing the curriculum comparisons, that might be something we dive into and see if we can find anything that'll fit it. And if I don't find something that I really like, I'm feeling pretty motivated to try to put together those electives on my own. So let's just kind of wrap things up and summarize it there, because I don't know if this video is getting a bit long and I don't know if we're going to be able to dive into the actual curriculum comparisons today. But what I did in this step, right? We've taken what it is that I still have left for my kids to do as far as like our goals for graduation, and started plugging in those different ideas. And so we've got, for my son, we know we're going to do pre-calculus, we know we're going to do physics, we know we're going to do English 11, we know we're going to do U.S. history, and we will do most likely like a 1 semester mental health, 1 semester kind of life skills course. So that'll be on his. My daughter will most likely do a dual enrollment English course, a dual enrollment math course. She'll do anatomy and physiology, possibly some sort of humanities course, dual enrollment, but then again, a 1 semester mental health and 1 semester kind of life skills course. And then together as a family, we will do our Bible study with possibly focusing in more on understanding of languages, along with like the topical devotions that we do along the way as well. So I don't know if that was helpful. I hope that was helpful for you guys, just to kind of see my thought process there as we took kind of what was still on our list and started to plug things in on there. I will say that our first couple of years of high school, if you look back at their transcript, look extremely heavy. And to a degree they were. We were taking quite a few courses, 6 or 7 courses each semester. And then they were doing things outside of those that were counting for credit. We were counting sports and we were counting music. Sometimes they did things during the summer, or they were doing co-ops. They've done courses that count for more than 1 credit. And so it's really bulked up their transcripts early on. The beauty of that is that we can breathe a little bit now. Like my daughter's senior year is not going to be a packed year. This should give her a lot of time to really focus in on those dual enrollment classes, and also to just enjoy her last year of high school. Be able to, go out and really work on her golf game, because she'll be hopefully getting ready to play for a college team. Spending time with her friends before they all go off to college, getting to spend time with family, and just kind of getting ready for that transition to this next step in life. And even for my son, even though he's still got 2 more years, we don't have to have such a crazy packed schedule. And the nice part about that is, again, he's a different type of learner from my daughter. It takes him a little bit longer to kind of get through certain things. He likes to do courses that have a lot of hands-on stuff and different types of activities being done. And those types of courses tend to be ones that take a little more time during the day. So this will also give him some breathing room to be able to, spend that time on those courses and not feel like he has to rush through things in order to get to like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you go. And again, if you haven't seen the first part, I'll link that down below. Be sure to check that out. So the next step after this will be actually researching curriculum. And so I will show you kind of different places that I'm going to try to find curriculum that I feel would be a good fit. Naturally, I have some thoughts in mind for some things based on things we've already used or companies that we've already enjoyed, but I'll take you through as if I was looking at this all from the first time, and where it is I would go for information and what is it I'm actually going to be looking for in those different curriculum options before I make my final choices. As always, thank you guys for joining me for today's video. Happy homeschooling. See you in the next one.